In a far galaxy, on a planet called Zephyr, there was something strange. In the middle of a giant metal desert, a huge glowing hole floated in the air. It made no sound. It did not move, but it was always there. The aliens called it the Forbidden Hole. For thousands of years, many alien races had tried to enter it. Some sent robots, some sent brave soldiers, some sent their smartest minds, but no one ever came back. Every ship that entered vanished. Every creature that touched the edge disappeared. No signal ever returned. Nothing. So the hole became a legend, a curse, a warning. The alien leaders made a law: no one shall go near the hole again. But then the humans arrived. They came in a silver ship, simple but strong. The ship landed near the hole. The aliens watched from far, afraid. Inside the ship was Captain Ray Carter, a human explorer. Calm eyes, quiet voice, strong heart. He had traveled many worlds. But this hole, this unknown thing, was different. The aliens tried to stop him. "You don't understand," one said. "Many have tried," said another. "You will die," whispered a third. But Ray just smiled. "I didn't come this far to walk away," he said. He stepped out of the ship. The sand under his boots made a soft crunch. The glowing hole shimmered in front of him like water standing still in the air. It was big, big enough to swallow a building. Blue, purple, and black light moved inside it, slowly like a dream. The alien crowd stood far back, watching, waiting. One old alien whispered. Not even the breakthrough dared, and they feared nothing. Captain Ray walked closer. Each step felt heavy. The air around the hole was cold, like winter in space. The closer he got, the more his heart beat faster. But he did not stop. He stood just one step away from the edge. Then he looked back, not at the aliens, not at the ship, but at the sky. Stars twinkled above him. And then he closed his eyes. Everything went quiet. No sound, no wind, no breath. Ray took a deep breath and jumped. For a second, there was nothing. No light, no sound, just emptiness. The alien crowd gasped. The hole shimmered once, then became still again. "He is gone," said one alien. "Foolish." "Human," said another. But one young alien, a small one with bright yellow eyes, whispered, "What if he makes it?" Inside the hole, time and space twisted. Captain Ray floated. But he did not fall. Colors flew past him: green, gold, red, and violet. He felt warm, then cold, then nothing. Shapes moved around him like shadows. He heard voices, not words, just feelings, like memories of people he had never met. His heart beat slower. His breath became still, but he was not dead. He opened his eyes. He was inside something, not a place, but a feeling. Round him, there were broken pieces of alien ships, floating like forgotten toys. Strange lights danced in the distance. He saw writing on walls made of light, languages no human ever wrote, symbols that felt older than time. He tried to speak, but no sound came out, only thought. The hole listened. And then he heard something, a whisper, deep and close. "Why did you come?" Captain Ray looked around. There was no one, just shadows, just light. He didn't answer with words. He thought, to know the truth. The whisper returned. Others came with fear. You came with silence. Ray felt a pull, not with hands, but with his mind. The hole was not just space. It was a test. It was alive. It was waiting. Back outside, the hole remained still. The aliens waited for hours. No sign, no signal, nothing. But then the hole flickered. A soft hum filled the air. The small alien with yellow eyes stepped forward. "Something's changing," he said. The hole pulsed once, like a heartbeat, and deep inside, Captain Ray floated toward a doorway of pure light. The real journey was about to begin. But one thing was clear. The human had gone where no alien dared, and he was still alive. Nothing felt real. Captain Ray Carter floated through something that wasn't air, wasn't space, and wasn't time. His body moved forward, yet he could not feel motion. He opened his eyes, but he wasn't sure if they were already open. The world around him had no shape. It had color, but not the kind anyone had seen before. Blue that sang, Red that hummed, a silver light that tasted like cold metal in his mouth. He wanted to speak, but his voice was useless here. So he thought dot, and the place listened dot. Suddenly, the world shifted. Everything snapped into form like a broken puzzle suddenly solving itself. The floating lights hardened into walls. The soundless space turned into a long tunnel that stretched. Far ahead, the walls were alive, covered in glowing symbols that moved like rivers of light. Ray stepped forward. His boots touched the floor. It felt solid, yet it rippled like water. He took another step. Behind him, the hole was gone. No way back. His heart beat calmly. He didn't panic. He didn't wonder if he'd made a mistake. He only walked forward. That was what he came for, to go where no one else could. Dot as he moved. Whispers drifted through the tunnel. Not words, but voices, sad, afraid, lost. One sounded like a child crying. Another sounded like an angry scream that had lasted for 1,000 years. Ray's fingers twitched toward his sidearm, but he didn't draw it. He knew no weapon would work here. This place wasn't a battlefield. It was something deeper. He turned a corner and then stopped. Floating in front of him, just a few feet away, was a massive skeleton, twisted, alien, ancient. Its bones glowed, faintly, cracked and burnt at the edges. On its head was a crown-like device with glowing wires still twitching. Captain Ray stared. The creature had died long ago, but the air around it still shimmered with energy. A voice filled the tunnel, not a whisper, but a clear thought that entered his mind directly. He refused the truth. Ray didn't answer. The voice spoke again. He wanted power. He feared questions. The skeleton cracked. Pieces of it fell away into the floor, disappearing like ash in wind. Ray stepped forward, past the remains, and the tunnel opened wider. Before him was a wide chamber, floating platforms, spinning symbols, energy flowing in lines like blood in veins. In the center stood a being. It was tall, not quite solid, not quite light. Its body shifted as if it was made of stars and memory. "You are not like the others," it said. Though its mouth did not move. Ray stood still. "I'm not afraid to not." "No," the being tilted its head. "That is dangerous. Curiosity has burned galaxies." Ray smiled. "Then let me burn to double quotes silence. Then the being moved aside. Behind it, a wall of light slowly opened like a blooming flower. Inside was another world, small and strange. Mountains floated in the sky, oceans moved like smoke. Trees grew upside down, glowing blue from inside. And in the middle of it all, floating in a golden sphere, was something unexpected. A human child. Ray froze. The child opened his eyes and looked directly at him. "I've been waiting for you," the boy said. His voice echoed like memory. He wore a gray suit, old and torn. His hair floated as if underwater. He looked calm, but his eyes were too old. Far too old. "Who are you?" Ray asked. "I'm you. A version of you. The one that came here before, and never left." Ray's mouth went dry. "I've never been here." "Not in your time," the child said. "But time here is broken. Every choice you made, I made too. And when I reached this point, I hesitated. I tried to go back." The chamber shook lightly. "And what happened?" Ray asked. "I became part of the system," the child answered. "Trapped, watched, used. Used for what?" The child pointed to the walls. "For memory, for data, for understanding. They don't test bodies, they test minds. They need a species that can look into itself and survive what it sees." Ray took a step closer, the energy sphere around. The child pulsed gently. "So I pass the test if I accept you?" Ray asked. The child didn't answer. Ray understood. It wasn't about winning. It wasn't about escaping. It was about surrender. About knowing that to move forward, sometimes you had to accept the version of yourself that failed, the version that was weak, the version that broke. He reached forward. His hand touched the golden sphere, and the child smiled. The sphere shattered. Light exploded around him. Time twisted again. Ray fell, but not down. He fell into himself, a rush of thoughts, a flood of feelings, regret, pride, loss, hope. Every memory he had, and didn't have, crashed into him like a storm. When he opened his eyes again, he was back in the tunnel. Alone. But something had changed. Now the symbols on the walls did not shift. They spoke. They told him where to go next. They were guiding him. Captain Ray Carter took a breath and walked deeper into the unknown. The test was not over, but for the first time since stepping into the hole, he wasn't walking blind. The hole had accepted him, and whatever waited ahead, he was ready. He wasn't alone anymore, though the tunnel ahead looked empty. Ray could feel it, something breathing in the silence, something watching from a place he could not see. The air wasn't cold, but it touched his skin like invisible fingers, testing him. He walked carefully now, not because he was afraid, but because he understood. This place did not follow his rules. Gravity bent like soft rubber. Sometimes the floor became the ceiling for a moment, then shifted back. Light moved in slow waves like a dream underwater. Then he heard it, a sound, faint, broken, like a whisper carried by wind too tired to move. He turned left, then right. Nothing, but the whisper returned, closer this time. He walked faster. His boots didn't make a sound on the strange, glowing floor. His eyes darted from shadow to light, but nothing moved. Then, just ahead, he saw a shape. Someone was sitting on a small stone platform floating in midair. Their back was turned, shoulders hunched, as if they had been waiting forever. Ray slowed down, stepping closer. "Hello," he called out. The figure turned. It was not human. Its face was thin and long, skin like faded glass, eyes black and endless. It didn't stand, it didn't speak, but Ray heard the voice inside his head. "You are late." Ray didn't answer. He had learned now words didn't matter here, only truth. The figure stood slowly. It was tall, but weak, old in ways that no years could explain. "I was the first," the being said without moving its mouth. "I came before time was measured. I too wanted to know." Ray stepped closer. "What happened to you?" The being raised a hand and pointed at the tunnel behind it. A portal opened, shaky, weak, and broken like shattered glass. Through it, Ray saw images. Worlds, stars, ships, a war, a death. "I passed the door," it said, "but I did not pass the self." Ray narrowed his eyes. "You failed." The being smiled, a sad smile full of dust and regret. "No, I refused to see." Ray understood. The being faded slowly, turning to dust that rose like smoke and vanished into the air. Where it had stood, a new path appeared, this one dark and narrow. He didn't hesitate. He entered. The moment he stepped inside, everything vanished. No floor, no walls, no time, just memory. He was standing in his childhood home. It smelled like his mother's cooking. The old fan made the same lazy sound it always had. Outside, a dog barked exactly the way he remembered. He stepped forward. His younger self sat on the couch, crying. No reason, just crying. He remembered this day. It was the day his father left. No goodbyes, no reason, just left. Ray's chest tightened. He hadn't thought of this moment in years. The boy looked up at him. "You said it would be okay," the child whispered. "You promised." Ray wanted to reach out, to comfort, to explain, but the scene faded. Another memory replaced it. A battlefield, screams, fire, metal crashing. His squad was pinned. They were calling for him. "Ray, Captain, do something." But he didn't move. He froze. One of them died because of that moment. A second too late. He had buried that memory deep. Now it stared him in the face. "Why didn't you act?" The voice asked, not from outside, but inside his own chest. He had no answer. More memories came. His first lie, his worst fear, a broken promise, every moment he wanted to forget. They surrounded him. Now, living, breathing, demanding to be seen. Ray dropped to one knee. His head ached. His heart felt heavy. But he didn't run. He opened his arms, and he let them in. One by one, the shadows entered his chest like smoke returning to fire. They burned, but he didn't stop them. When the last memory had returned to him, the darkness cracked. Light poured in. He stood up slowly. The chamber had changed. Now, in front of him, stood a structure ancient, massive, and alive. It pulsed with golden light, and at its center was a door made of shifting metal, always forming, always breaking. It had no lock, but it did not open. Ray stepped toward it. The symbols on the walls spun wildly. Then they stopped, frozen in place. They formed one sentence. To pass, you must meet what you were never meant to see. Ray touched the door. It vanished. Behind it was a room. Small, empty, except for one figure. It looked exactly like him. Same face, same eyes, same uniform. But its expression was different, cold, sharp, cruel. Ray took a step forward. So did the figure. It spoke with his voice, but no soul. You think you are ready? Ray nodded. I know I am. The figure smiled. Then prove it. It attacked. They clashed, body to body, thought to thought. Every punch was a memory. Every move was a truth. They were not fighting for victory. They were fighting for ownership. Who would be the real Ray? The battle felt like forever, until Ray did something the other didn't expect. He stopped fighting. He dropped his hands and whispered, I forgive you. The figure froze, then smiled gently this time, and disappeared. Ray stood alone in the room. The wall behind him glowed, and another path opened. No more voices, no more tests, only the next step. He walked forward into the unknown once again, and this time the place bowed to him. The walls no longer pulsed with warning. They hummed with recognition. As Ray walked through the narrow passage ahead, he noticed the symbols on the walls had stopped moving. They weren't just alive anymore. They were aware. The lights bowed away from his steps. The air no longer pressed against him. It made space for him, as if the entire place understood he had passed something few ever could. Still, he didn't let his guard down. Curiosity could be a trap too. The passage opened suddenly into a vast chamber that looked like the inside of a star. Swirls of plasma danced far above, casting soft orange light across a smooth obsidian floor. Pillars made of light held up nothing and yet stretched high, endless. In the center stood a device, not a weapon, not a throne, something older. It floated just above the ground, circular in shape, covered in veins of glowing silver. Every few seconds, it pulsed not like a machine, but like a heart. Ray stepped toward it. As he did, a soft voice entered his mind, not his own, not the voice from before. This one was different, colder, calculating. You are further than the others. Ray didn't respond. He moved slowly, studying the device. It seemed to study him back. You passed the mirror gate. The voice continued. You integrated yourself. Ray circled the floating structure, his boots making no sound. But that is not the final test, the voice whispered. That was only the key. The floor beneath him shifted suddenly, like a breath pulling in, and then, without warning, the chamber fell away. The light disappeared. The walls collapsed like shadows. In fire. Ray dropped, not down, not sideways, just dropped, through something that didn't feel like space at all. For a moment, it felt like being erased. Then his feet touched solid ground again. He stood in a room that was not a room. It had no ceiling, no floor, no sky. Just space. And in the middle of it stood a table. At the table sat 5 beings. None of them looked the same. One shimmered like wind trapped in glass. Another looked like stone carved from starlight. One was just smoke, thick and slow. Another looked almost human, but with a face that never ended. The last was something even Ray's mind couldn't understand. His eyes slid away from it. Every time he tried to look, they all turned toward him. No mouths, no faces, just attention. You are human, they said together. Ray nodded. His voice came out calm, but soft. Yes, you have done what no other has. He waited, listening, watching. You passed the gate of memory. You stood before your failures. You did not turn away. Ray said nothing. He knew this wasn't praise. You were not chosen, they said. That surprised him. Then why am I here? You came, they answered. That is enough. A pause, then the table changed. On its surface, a star system appeared. 9 planets, 2 suns, moons, asteroids, orbit paths in motion, living and real. This is your home, they said. Ray nodded again. Yes, another blink. The system vanished. In its place appeared another system, dark, silent, dead. This was another's home. Ray studied it. No movement, no light, just dust and stone. They failed. The voices paused. They feared themselves. They silenced questions. They worshipped answers. They broke. Ray looked at the empty system a moment longer. Why show me this? Because you must choose. the table changed. Again. Now, floating above its surface, was a single shape, a sphere, glowing softly. Inside it motion, energy, possibility. This is the seed, they said. A fragment of design, of creation. Ray leaned closer. It wasn't just energy, it was thought. A blueprint for life. You will take it, they said, or you will leave it. What happens if I take it? You bring change. What happens if I don't? You go home. Ray stared at the seed. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat that wasn't his. Why me? He asked. You are human, and humans. The voices grew quiet, as if choosing their words. Have not yet decided what they are. Ray smiled faintly. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That is the only thing. He looked again at the seed. Its glow wasn't just light, it was invitation. It offered knowledge, power, a new path, but also risk, uncertainty. He reached out his hand, then stopped. What if I fail? The voices answered together, without pause. Then, you will become the reason someone else someday succeeds. Ray closed his eyes, then took the seed. The moment he touched it, the chamber vanished. Heat exploded around him. Cold pierced his chest. His mind felt stretched across galaxies. He saw stars forming, cells dividing, civilizations rising, falling, climbing again, and in the middle of it all, one truth: the unknown does not destroy. It reveals. He opened his eyes. He was standing at the edge of the hole again. On Zephr. Aliens stared, frozen, silent. He still held the seed in his hand, now quiet and dim. They stepped back. He had returned. The human had done what no alien dared, and he had brought something back, something that would change everything. Forever. He didn't speak when he returned. Captain Ray Carter stood at the edge of the hole, still holding the seed in his hand. It no longer glowed, but the air around it shimmered faintly, like heat from something alive. Behind him, the energy from the hole pulsed once more, then went still, silent, as if it had completed its task. The aliens stared at him from a distance. They were afraid to come closer. None of them had expected him to return, let alone holding something from the other side. No one moved. No one dared. Ray looked up at the sky. The stars above felt closer now. He took a step forward, and the ground beneath his feet reacted. A quiet ripple moved through the sand, like something deep below was listening. The hole had not changed him on the outside. No scars, no light, no symbols on his skin. But they could all see it. Something inside him was not the same. One of the aliens finally spoke. A scholar, older than most, covered in metal bones and a thin veil of silver skin. What did you bring back? Ray didn't answer at first. He looked at the seed. It was small, ordinary, almost. Just a soft sphere with slow veins of energy running through it. But even without glowing, it held pressure, like it carried time inside it. Possibility, he said simply. The alien tilted its head. Of what? Everything, Ray replied. They brought him into the high chamber that night, not to question him, but to understand him. Leaders from 6 species gathered under the black spires. They spoke in circles, trying to make sense of the impossible. One said, it's a weapon. Another said, no, it's a test. A third said, he should destroy it before it wakes. Ray stood silent through it all. The voices meant nothing now. None of them had seen what he had seen. None of them had heard the voices that didn't come from mouths. When the room quieted, Ray finally spoke. You all waited for answers, he said, and feared the price of asking. They looked at him, uncertain, uncomfortable. I didn't find the truth because I was brave. I found it because I walked forward when I had nothing else. A long silence followed. What do you intend to do with it? Someone asked. I'm not sure, he answered. It's not a weapon. It's not a gift. It's a mirror. What we become when we hold it depends on what we are when we do. None of them knew how to respond to that. That night, Ray left the city and walked to the edge of the cliffs overlooking the crystal lakes. The seed pulsed in his hand once only. Once, but it was enough. He sat down, placing it on the rock beside him. He watched it as stars passed slowly overhead, like they were watching back. Then a sound behind him. Footsteps. He turned. It was a child, not human, small, with blue eyes that shimmered. One of the locals. The child didn't speak, just looked. At him, then at the seed. "Do you want to touch it?" Ray asked softly. The child stepped closer. Nervous, but curious, Ray picked up the seed. It stayed quiet. Then he passed it to the child. The moment the small hands touched it, a ripple moved through the ground. Light shot gently through the surface below them, but the child didn't flinch. He simply smiled. "It likes me," the child said. Ray nodded. "It likes what you are." They sat there for a long time, man, child, and the silent star thing that had crossed realities to return with him. But far away, not everyone was watching in peace. Across the desert, deep underground, machines stirred. In a hidden facility left behind by a war long forgotten, sensors activated. One of them detected the seed's energy signature. A system rebooted. A voice cold and mechanical spoke to no one. Artifact class anomaly detected. Reclassification required. Awakening protocol. Begin. Somewhere, steel giants began to move. They had no names, only a purpose: to find what should never have been carried back, and to erase it. Ray didn't know yet. He only knew that something had begun. The child leaned on his shoulder. Asleep now, the seed pulsed softly in the darkness, once every few minutes, as if waiting. Ray looked at it again. And for the first time since he'd returned, he wondered, did I bring back something alive? And more importantly, was it already dreaming? He woke before the sun. The child was gone, and so was the seed. Ray stood up quickly, scanning the empty rocks around him. The lake below was still, untouched, as if nothing had ever happened. But the air carried a new tension, something he couldn't explain, like the silence before a storm that no sky could hide. He followed the faint trail of footsteps down the path. They were small, rushed, not careful. The child had run, and not alone. Two other sets followed, larger, heavier, perfectly spaced. Not alien feet, not human either. Something else. He moved faster now, hand on the grip of his sidearm. It wouldn't help, but instinct made him feel less exposed. The trail led toward the edge of the ruins, where stone arches had collapsed long ago into broken towers. That's where he saw them. The child stood near a low pillar, holding the seed tightly in both hands. Two figures approached, tall, silver gray, bodies with glowing eyes and armor that shimmered like cracked mirrors. Machines, old, wrong, woken too early or too late. Ray stepped into view. The machines turned their heads in perfect silence. No words, no threat, only a signal, blinking in their hollow eyes. Retrieve. He raised his voice, slow and firm. "He's with me." The taller one tilted its head, processing. Then it stepped forward. Ray moved between the machine and the child. "I won't let you take him." For a moment, no one moved. Then the machine extended an arm from its palm. A small projection flickered to life, a shape his own silhouette. Text scrolled across it in a language he didn't read, but he understood the meaning. Containment. Required. Risk level. Evolving. "We are not a risk," Ray said. The other machine spoke at last. Its voice was smooth, cold, not angry, just efficient. The artifact was not meant to return. Why not? Return creates pattern. Pattern creates echo. Echo must be silenced. Ray's grip tightened. The child behind him whispered, "They're afraid. They don't fear." Ray said quietly, "They obey." And that's what scared him more. The first machine reached again. This time, Ray didn't wait. He fired. The bullet struck its shoulder and bounced off like a raindrop on steel. It didn't react. But the child did. The seed glowed suddenly, violently. Light poured from it in waves, and the machines flinched for the first time. Not fear, interference. The smaller one raised its arm to shield its sensors. The child's eyes lit with the same glow. Ray grabbed his hand and ran. They darted through the broken arches as the machines recalibrated. Behind them, metal feet struck stone like drums. Fast, heavy, relentless. Ray didn't look back. They reached the upper ridge, where the cliffs narrowed into a sharp path. Ahead stood a single structure, an old transmission tower, half collapsed, leaning into the wind. Ray knew it had no power, but he wasn't aiming for communication. He was thinking about altitude. They reached the base and climbed. The metal groaned under their weight. threatening to fall. But it held. As they reached the top platform, Ray turned just in time to see the machines reach the ridge. They paused, calculating. Then one of them did something unexpected. It spoke not to Ray, but to the child. "You are not designed for this function," it said. The child answered without fear, "I wasn't designed. I was born." The seed pulsed again. A deep hum filled the air. The metal beneath them vibrated. The tower creaked, then steadied. Ray felt the world shift only slightly. Like gravity changed direction for a breath. Something had awakened. Far above them, the clouds opened, but not like weather, like doors. A long vertical seam appeared in the sky, light spilling through it slowly like a crack in space itself, from inside. Something ancient looked down. Not a ship, not a god. An eye, not physical, not alive, but present. The machines froze. The signal in their eyes vanished. Then, like puppets with cut strings, they fell, hard, unmoving. The child looked up, holding the seed close to his chest. "It's watching now," he said. Ray shielded his eyes. "What is it? The thing that made the hole, is it alive? It's deciding." "Deciding what? If we should keep going." Ray stared at the glowing rift above them. A soft wind touched his face, though it came from nowhere. "Do you think we should?" The child looked at him, not like a child anymore, but something older behind the skin. "I think we already are." The rift in the sky closed. The machines remained lifeless on the rocks below. And the seed, it stopped pulsing. For now. Ray looked at the child. "Time to leave." The boy shook his head. "No, time to learn." And together, they climbed down the tower, not as an explorer and a witness, but as carriers of something far more important than survival. They didn't know yet where the next step would lead. But whatever the test had been, it wasn't over. It was just changing. The machines never moved again. Their metal shells remained where they fell, half buried in dust, like forgotten statues of a warning no one could read. Days passed, maybe weeks. Ray lost track. Time didn't behave normally anymore, not since the seed had awakened. The child didn't age, not outwardly, but something inside him grew sharper. His voice changed. His eyes, once curious and wide, now held a depth that even Ray found hard to meet for long. The seed never left his hands, and yet he no longer carried it. It hovered gently around him now, circling like a quiet moon. Others began to come, aliens from nearby cities, travelers from distant systems, all drawn by the same thing, the story of the human who returned from the forbidden hole, the one who brought something back, and the child who now spoke in ways no child should. Ray didn't speak much anymore, not because he had no answers, but because the more he knew, the less he needed to say. He listened. He watched. He prepared. Something was coming. Not war. Not peace. Something else. One evening, just after the moons of Zephyr aligned and painted the sky with 3 silver arcs, the child came to him, alone, silent. Ray looked at him and asked, "Is it time?" The child nodded. Ray stood. They walked together through the low hills, beyond the cliffs, past the remains of the machines. The hole was still there, floating quietly, unchanged. But now it pulsed faintly, as if breathing in its sleep. Waiting. Ray had expected it to close after his return, but it hadn't, because it wasn't just an entrance. It was a door, and all doors go both ways. As they stood before it, the seed floated between them. The light inside it had grown, no longer soft. Now it burned with color, spinning in patterns that made the air around it bend. The ground trembled slightly, like the world was holding its breath. "You said it gave us choice," Ray said. The child nodded. "And now it gives us voice." Ray looked at the hole, remembering the silence, the weight of that first step, the leap without knowing, the trust in nothing but the will to keep going. "Do you know what's on the other side now?" he asked. "Yes," the child answered. "Is it worth it?" "I don't know," the child said, "but it's waiting to ask you something." The seed floated higher. Its glow spread wide, covering the rocks, the sky, their faces. Then a sound filled the air, not loud, not sharp, just a tone, a deep hum that passed through bone and thought. Ray closed his eyes. He didn't see images this time. He saw choices, a world with the seed's knowledge, cleaner, faster, wiser. but colder. A world without it, slower, harder, full of pain, but real. A world where humans became gods. A world where they became extinct. A million paths unfolded before him in the blink of a moment, and one thing stood at the center of them all. A question, not from the whole, from himself. What kind of species do we want to be? The light faded, the hole shimmered. The child turned to him. You don't have to answer today, he said. Ray smiled faintly. I already did the day I jumped. The seed pulsed once and entered Ray's chest, not painfully, not violently. It simply became part of him. The child looked up. It's yours now. Ray stepped forward. The hole rippled, but it no longer felt like danger, no longer unknown. It felt like home. One last time, he turned to the child. What will you do? I'll stay, the child said. Someone has to explain. Ray nodded. He stepped into the light. This time, he didn't close his eyes. He wanted to see it, and he did. But no one saw him again. Only stories remained. Stories told by a child who grew slowly, but wisely. A child who answered questions in ways that always left more. A child who smiled when others asked, what happened to the man who went into the hole? And answered, he became the hole. Because some doors are not just for going through. Some are meant to be kept open and guarded by those who once walked through them. Far away, in corners of the galaxy not yet named, the pulse of the seed began to echo, not loud, not fast, but steady. Planets shifted. Dreams grew strange. The stars, once silent, seemed to blink with thought. And somewhere, perhaps in a place outside of time, Ray Carter walked forward, still, not lost, just ahead, waiting for whoever would be brave enough to follow.